In the pitch-black chaos of the Siversk battlefield in Ukraine's Donetsk region, where the acrid stench of gunpowder mingled with scorched earth and relentless explosions, a Ukrainian soldier known as Tanker lay crouched in a shallow ditch just under a mile from his unit's front line. Blood seeped from his severely wounded legs, injuries sustained in a brutal Russian ambush. 3 of his 4-man patrol had been killed, leaving Tanker alone in a deadly no-man's land. Enemy forces lurked nearby, tightening their encirclement with every passing moment. Yet Tanker refused to yield, clinging to his iron will and a faint hope of rescue. At the Rubizh Brigade's command post, home to the 4th Freedom Battalion, tension hung heavy. On a large screen, live feeds from unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, captured Tanker's desperate struggle. For 5 days, he had fended off relentless Russian infantry assaults. Ukrainian UAVs, like guardian angels, provided critical air support, thwarting enemy advances. A Russian platoon, roughly 30 soldiers, had been wiped out in failed attacks, but Tanker's situation remained precarious, hanging by a thread. "We can't send armored vehicles or infantry in," said Mykola Hrytsenko, the brigade's spokesperson, his voice low but resolute during an urgent briefing at the command post. "That area is enemy territory. Any rescue attempt would cost more lives. Tanker can't walk a mile with those injuries. We need another way." Siversk, a small town in northern Donetsk, stood as a fiery crucible of the war. Its sprawling fields, dotted with sparse forests and ruined villages, had become a ferocious battleground between Ukrainian and Russian forces. Main supply routes were severed, and roads into the town were littered with mines and obstacles. The Russians, with superior numbers and firepower, pressed relentless assaults, aiming to encircle and isolate Ukrainian units. Tanker, a seasoned soldier of the Rubizh Brigade, was part of a 4-man patrol tasked with scouting a sector east of Siversk. Their mission: gather intelligence on Russian troop concentrations suspected of preparing a major offensive. The team included Tanker, a battle-hardened veteran, Petro, a young marksman, Andriy, a radio specialist, and Serhiy, the team leader. The plan seemed straightforward: move in, observe enemy positions, and withdraw. But the battlefield rarely spares such optimism. As the patrol crept along a narrow trail, concealed by low shrubs and desolate fields, a sudden barrage erupted. Russian forces, hidden in nearby thickets, sprang their ambush. Machine gun fire tore through the air, and grenades detonated, turning the trail into a fiery kill zone. Petro and Andrei fell instantly, while Serhiy, fighting back, was cut down minutes later. Tanker, with razor-sharp reflexes, rolled into a shallow ditch, shielding himself under dry grass and dirt. A shrapnel fragment lodged in his right thigh, leaving him bloodied and trapped deep in enemy territory. Over the next 5 days, Tanker faced relentless peril. By day, he lay motionless to avoid Russian patrols equipped with advanced reconnaissance gear. He could only crawl a few yards under cover of darkness. The Donetsk cold, dipping below 50 degrees Fahrenheit at night, left him shivering. His water supply dwindled to a few sips from a canteen, and ammunition was nearly spent. 1 magazine for his AK-74 rifle and a single grenade. Yet the greatest threat wasn't hunger, cold, or scarcity. It was the crushing isolation of the battlefield, where every rustle could signal death. At the Rubizh Brigade's command post, some 6 miles from Tanker's position, officers and soldiers worked tirelessly. The headquarters, housed in a battered concrete building once a school, served as the nerve center for brigade operations. Bullet-scarred walls, maps bristling with annotations, and screens displaying UAV feeds were their windows into the war. The air inside was thick with the smell of gunpowder and sweat. Captain Alexander, commander of the 4th Freedom Battalion, bore the weight of Tanker's fate. Standing before a tactical map, he listens to updates from the UAV team. "We've lost direct comms with Tanker," reported Sergeant Mikhailo, callsign Hawk, one of the brigade's top UAV operators, skilled at navigating drones in brutal combat conditions. But his locator beacon is still active. He's alive, but he can't move. "Sending armor in is suicide," said Major Mikola, the logistics officer, known for his cautious calculations. "The roads to Siversk are a minefield. Infantry won't make it either. We'd be spotted long before reaching him. We need another option." Silence gripped the room. Abandoning Tanker was unthinkable. In the Ukrainian military, no soldier left behind was a sacred vow. But how do you save a man trapped in the enemy's heart, barely able to walk? The question haunted the command post. In that tense moment, a bold idea emerged. Lieutenant Dmytro, a young but seasoned UAV technician, stood up. Lean and sharp-eyed, he proposed, why not use Baba Yaga? The term, coined by Russians for Ukraine's heavy bomb-dropping UAVs, referred to drones built from commercial parts but adapted for war, capable of carrying up to 110 pounds. These rugged machines were typically used to drop bombs or grenades on enemy positions. Dmytro's plan wasn't about bombs. He suggested using a drone to deliver a mobility solution, an electric bicycle. Tanker can't walk, he explained, but if we drop an e-bike, he could ride back. It's lighter than a vehicle, and Baba Yaga can handle a 90-pound load. We've dropped heavier gear before. The room was stunned. "An e-bike? Are you serious?" one officer asked. Dmytro stood firm, detailing his plan. "It's light, maneuverable, and can handle rough terrain. If we drop it precisely, Tanker just has to climb on and ride. The drone will keep him hidden from above." The idea was audacious, but it was the only spark of hope. After a moment's reflection, Captain Alexander nodded. "Do it, but move fast. Tanker's running out of time." The Rubizh Brigade's technical team sprang into action. In a corner of the command post, technicians inspected each Baba Yaga. Though rudimentary compared to Western military drones, these Ukrainian-modified UAVs, built from commercial components, boasted enhanced engines, infrared cameras, and precise GPS. The chosen drone was a high-powered model capable of carrying 110 pounds under ideal conditions. The challenge wasn't just weight. Delivering an e-bike required pinpoint accuracy, sturdy cables, and a flight path clear of Russian anti-aircraft fire. The selected e-bike was a civilian model, weighing about 90 pounds, with a 500-watt motor strong enough for rugged terrain. Its aluminum frame was light yet durable, ideal for the mission. Technicians welded steel hooks onto the frame for drone attachment. Every detail was scrutinized: cable strength, drone motor power, flight trajectory. A single misstep could doom the mission, or worse, deliver Tanker to the enemy. Meanwhile, on the battlefield, support UAVs kept watch. Equipped with infrared cameras, they monitored tanker and Russian movements, dropping grenades or firing on approaching enemy squads to maintain a fragile safety buffer. But the pressure was mounting. Several drones had been downed by Russian anti-aircraft fire, and aerial munitions were running low. Hawk, the lead operator, worked without rest, his hands trembling but steady on the controls. On the 5th day, the first Baba Yaga took flight, carrying the e-bike like a spectral giant. At the command post, all eyes were glued to the screen. The drone's camera showed the bike swaying slightly in the wind, but secured by cables. The flight path was meticulously planned to avoid Russian air defenses identified by intelligence. But before reaching tanker, a barrage of anti-aircraft fire erupted. Rounds from a Russian Zu-23-2 23mm anti-aircraft gun tore through the sky, piercing the drone's wing. The engine caught fire, and the Baba Yaga plummeted into a field 550 yards from tanker. The screech of its dying motor silenced the room. Captain Alexander slammed his fist on the table, but quickly regained composure. "Prep the second drone," he ordered. "We keep going." The technical team worked through the night to ready another Baba Yaga. They reinforced the cables with high-strength steel and tweaked the controls to minimize sway. The flight path was rerouted to use low terrain and avoid Russian radar. At dawn on the 6th day, the drone launched. The mission seemed on track. The e-bike was dropped just 220 yards from tanker. But as the drone prepared to release the cables, a technical glitch struck. The motor overloaded, likely from the bike's weight and strong battlefield winds. The drone spiraled, crashing into a sparse forest. The e-bike, intact but unreachable, lay beyond tanker's grasp. Despair settled over the command post. 2 failed attempts sparked doubts among some officers. Colonel Ivan, skeptical from the start, shook his head. "We're burning through drones. Maybe it's time for another approach." But Lieutenant Dmitro remained resolute. "We're halfway there," he insisted. "This time, it'll work. I'm certain." By the 6th day, a third Baba Yaga was prepped with doubled caution. The team used a newer drone with a stronger engine and optimized controls. The cables were upgraded to handle up to 130 pounds. The flight path was recalculated, using low terrain and sparse forests to evade Russian radar. Everything was set. As the drone took off, the command post held its breath. The camera feed showed the e-bike dangling in midair, lowered gently like a gift from the heavens. No anti-aircraft fire interrupted the mission. The drone navigated hazardous zones, descended, and dropped the bike mere feet from tanker. Tanker, exhausted from 5 days of hunger, cold, and enemy threats, seized the moment. He crawled from his ditch, cut the cables with a combat knife, and climbed onto the e-bike. His wounded legs throbbed with every move, but his will to survive overpowered the pain. He hit the throttle, and the bike surged forward, cutting through dusty, rock-strewn fields. At the command post, cheers erupted as the screen showed tanker moving. But the battlefield offered no mercy. Less than a mile into his ride, a deafening explosion rocked the ground. The e-bike hit a mine, detonating in a fiery blast that threw tanker to the dirt. The shockwave left him dazed, ears ringing, as debris and smoke engulfed him. For a moment, he lay still, hope seemingly lost. Yet, with superhuman resolve, he gritted his teeth and stood, blood still oozing from his wounds, refusing to surrender. Tanker looked ahead. Ukrainian-controlled territory was just a few hundred yards away, but each step was agony. He limped forward, using his hands to steady himself. Every fall was met with a determined rise, his jaw clenched against the pain. Above, support UAVs circled, ensuring no Russian patrols closed in. After an arduous journey, Tanker reached Ukrainian lines. A tracked unmanned ground vehicle, UGV, a compact machine designed for supply transport and casualty evacuation, was waiting. Controlled remotely from the command post, the UGV rolled to Tanker's position. He climbed aboard, exhausted but safe. The vehicle sped him to base, where medics stood ready. As Tanker emerged in the dim light of the camp, applause broke out at the command post. He was home. Tanker's rescue was more than a tale of survival. It was a testament to the Ukrainian military's unyielding spirit and ingenuity. Faced with impossible odds, the Rubizh Brigade transformed a bomb-dropping drone into a lifeline. Though unlikely to become standard procedure, the operation showcased tactical creativity and an unwavering commitment to leaving no soldier behind. Tanker, the quiet hero, crossed the line between life and death. Behind him stood hundreds, commanders, technicians, and remote support troops, who together forged a miracle. On the blood-soaked, fire-scorched fields of Donetsk, Tanker's story shines as a beacon, reminding all that even in the darkest moments, hope endures.